Now, Rishi Sunak is staging a defiant comeback after what was probably one of the toughest weekends of his political career. Scooting back home early from D-Day has been viewed by many as nothing less than a car crash move, and after his rain-soaked lectern stunt and then visiting the Titanic quarter to launch the Tories' election campaign, it appears he's being advised by some very low-grade people. But speaking on the BBC's Panorama interviews with Nick Robinson tonight, in the last couple of hours, Mr Sunak remained resolute.
After 14 years, 5 prime ministers, Boris Johnson lying about parties, Liz Truss almost crashing the economy and you bunking off D-Day, after all the broken promises, you really think you deserve another chance?
I've been very clear in the past, no government gets everything right, but I am proud of what has been achieved over 14 years. This election is also about the future. We have a clear plan. I'm prepared to take bold action to cut people's taxes, protect their pensions and bring migration down. And in contrast, Labour are just going to put everyone's taxes up. That's a choice.
The Prime Minister scraps all media interviews on Saturday as the D-Day aftermath grips hold. That's prompted this tweet from Boris Johnson ally Nadine Dorries, who suggested Sunak was about to be dramatically replaced by David Cameron as the man to lead the Conservatives into the final weeks of the election. Nadine said, "I've always said that Cameron was popped into the Lords and into a senior ministerial post for a reason. I thought maybe it was to replace Sunak at an earlier stage, but rumours around tonight that Sunak's about to fall on his sword. There are no MPs, only ministers. If Sunak does resign, any replacement would have to come from within ministerial ranks." I don't know what's going on in the upper echelons of the Conservative Party, but Chairman Richard Holden personified the chaos with this extraordinary moment yesterday.
How is that not an appalling stitch-up and anti-democratic?
Emily Thornberry today has completely admitted that Labour's...
So you can't justify the way you have been parachuted into Basildon and Billericay. You're not denying it's a stitch-up and it's anti-democratic.
Emily Thornberry today has admitted...
I'm going to stop you now. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. You said in an interview earlier this year you were bloody loyal to the North East. What happened to that?
And the Tory troubles seemingly aren't confined to Westminster either. Scottish Tory leader Douglas Ross announced this morning he was standing down to focus on winning a seat in Aberdeen, where a Tory colleague, David de Goid, has already been selected and then bizarrely deselected simply because he's unwell. SNP leader John Swinney pounced on the chaos.
I'm not surprised that Douglas Ross has stood down because his position was beyond credibility. He's treated David Duguid absolutely abominably. David is ill. He's a respected member of Parliament. But that's not good enough for Douglas Ross. David Duguid has been ousted from standing for Parliament and replaced by none other than Douglas Ross. I think it's just an absolutely appalling way to behave towards a colleague.
And Shadow Paymaster General Jonathan Ashworth hit out at Rishi Sunak earlier ahead of the Conservatives' manifesto launch tomorrow.
Tomorrow you will see a document littered with unfunded commitment after unfunded commitment. A desperate wish list. The most expensive panic attack in history. From a weak, desperate Prime Minister who, in the chaotic scattergun of announcements which he has made in this campaign to date, has not even bothered to try to make his sums add up.
So look, you don't need the polls to show you there's growing alarm over the way the Conservatives' election campaign is going. So despite the turmoil, the question tonight is Rishi Sunak right to reject resignation calls to make way for fresh blood?